Hello, welcome to the 26th day of July 2025. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a live video exercise that I do every day at about this time to remember my life objectives and principles. Those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the various challenges and opportunities of note that I encountered. I also use this time to kind of describe atmospheric experiences in life. Sometimes I like to describe it as the climate of life. I go over my creed and I prepare for the coming day. But first, hello to new subscribers. It's good to have you on the channel. Brief note and disclaimer, I'm a 61-year-old American, retired here in Japan with my wife Yumiko. We have a grown daughter, Emily, who lives up in Tokyo, comes down and sees us about once a month. We're very lucky to see her pretty frequently. I'm 7 months now into retirement. My wife is about over a year into retirement. She's doing better than me. I'm struggling a little bit with freedom, finding my way. That fact factors into a lot of these videos these days, these recent videos, as I try to find my new direction. I am a content creator. I do also make videos about Japan. Not a lot lately though, even though it's so funny that I'm so free and can do just what I want, but I don't go out and make Japan videos much anymore. Mostly I'm focused on, I continue to focus on life. Not that those things aren't life, but you know what I mean. They feel more like recreation. I guess I'm not too keen on recreation. I'm very interested in the hard work of whatever it takes to live well, to define what constitutes living well, to set up a scaffolding of an infrastructure of values to help with that, and then to proceed. So to that end, that's why I wrote Going Alone. But so that's enough of that disclaimer. Oh, two more things. Not enough of that disclaimer. The second thing is the actual disclaimer. I do talk about sensitive subjects here. This is my personal diary video, so I can talk about anything I want, including about myself, positive, negative, whatever. You're welcome to watch, leave comments, but I don't read or respond to comments typically until I'm done. And then lastly, a huge thank you to my supporters for watching my videos, and for members on YouTube and supporters on Patreon. A huge thank you to you as well. And by the way, I did roll out for my members on YouTube, I rolled out yesterday, that was one of the big things I was working on, a new membership tier system. So I have 5 new membership tiers. Before I just had one. It was the standard membership. It's just the default one right out of the box. Came with YouTube. YouTube rolled it out into my channel when they set up when they introduced the membership functionality to YouTube. And people did wind up joining. I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't know what it was. And people were joining, and I didn't even have a good way of recognizing the fact that they were getting their perks and comments, and there was ways to delineate who was who, and I didn't realize all of that. Began to realize it late last year, but I was too busy with retiring and getting to Japan to do anything about it. But yesterday I did something about it. Now that I'm focusing on work being my YouTube channel and my eBay business, my antique store, and my eBay and YouTube business, my antique store and merchandising stores. So yesterday I set up the five levels. I had previously set up those 5 levels this last week as well in Patreon, linked them to my store, and I successfully completed that yesterday on YouTube. So if you're already a member, check around. There's other membership tiers, some cheaper than what I previously had just had the standard one. Now I've put in some less expensive ones as well. And there's perks, namely percentages off on my store and other perks too. You can find the codes in the descriptions when you join the membership. Okay, enough of all of that. Let's get on to the actual meditation part. This isn't a meditation where I'm sitting and humming. No, it's a meditation where I'm thinking about things. There are three notes from the last 24 hours. One is, I felt better. The second note is strong day of work. And the third day is work ethic touched. So felt better simply is a consequence of the fact that I didn't spend much time working outside yesterday. The previous 2 days prior to yesterday, I had spent at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half on both days, working outside in the garden in the heat, which just wiped me out. Yesterday, I didn't spend time. I did spend a little bit of time watering the plants, just enough to keep the plants watered in the garden. And I did just the smallest amount of weeding, just pulling up a few stray plants that popped up. That was it. Otherwise, I'd pretty much spent the day here in my room, hunkered in front of the blowing fan, oscillating back and forth between Rudy and me. Rudy's my little dog. And I even skipped radio exercise yesterday, which was interesting. I think that helped too, because usually I do radio exercise at 6:30, and then my wife and I walk the dogs at 7. And I've noticed since the full bore summer has arrived, by the 7 o'clock walk, I'm already starting to drag. And I think it was because yesterday I didn't feel that way. I kicked off the morning feeling good. I think that's because I skipped radio exercise. I'm going to attend radio exercise today, and we'll see how I feel at 7. Does this mean that if I don't feel good again, will I skip radio exercise for the summer? Don't know. I don't think so. It's kind of an important social element. Well, let's see. So I felt better all day long. I started to drag a little bit in the late afternoon. No particular good reason why. Just a little bit. But I think it was just because I was tired. I did a lot. The other note here says strong day of work. Well, that's why I was tired, because I had such a strong day of work. I listed an antique item. I listed an inventory item. I shipped a product. I shipped a purchase is the better way to say it. And I completed the tear makeup and outfitting that on my eBay store, my YouTube store, that is. A lot of work. And I set up a custom GPT to help me with some of that. Okay, so work ethic touched. What that simply means is that in the course of all of that, I realized how good it feels to work. It's work for me. There's something. It's like I think it's like a soldier, right? That if a soldier goes through their basic training and then spends a tour or two at duty, they probably get built into them some sense of an internal reward at service. You know what I mean? Following orders, fulfilling missions, doing duty. I'm afraid, and I do use the word afraid, because it was a bit of a lamentation to realize that I'm similarly chained to work. The ethics of work. The reward that comes of doing like I did yesterday. Completing tasks, setting out goals, listing things to do, and then fulfilling those things. Check through the day, just like I used to do at work. It's a habit that I might be too old to break, and that's okay. Like I've said many times, Cushy-san, the contractor, he's well into his 70s. He's going full bore. That guy doesn't know anything better, and he's loving every second of it. Sure, there's some people that find their way in retirement and make a new life for themselves. And I guess a case could be said that I'm doing that too. I'm choosing work, but work on my own terms, not out of necessity, but out of interest. And doing it, very importantly, as we've talked about in the last couple of days, sans stress, largely, almost exclusively, without stress. There's almost no stress. Because there's no one else other than my customers who are expecting anything of me. And I know how to satisfy my customers. I know how to write good listings, how to source good items, write good listings, and fulfill orders in a way that satisfies my customers. So I don't have to worry about satisfying my customers. And for the most part, I know that my customers are reasonable people. In the 5 years that I was a full-time antique dealer, there were only 2 cases ever, and all those, what was it, close to 6,000 transactions that things went south, and both of those were because of misunderstandings. Oh boy. Yep. Kurt, you can't be feeling tired. It's not even 6 a.m. Okay, so work ethic touched. Work ethic touched, and it felt good. That's enough for yesterday. The creed, my Good Life Creed, consists of the following 8 objectives, which you can read about in Going Alone: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to maintain my balance. And then one principle to read. I just read it yesterday. You think I'd be able to remember. I should write it down. I will. Oh, Felicity. I was going to look that up. I forgot to do that. Oh, I was also going to note I have so many things that I was going to start doing. I was going to note the temperature and the humidity when I got started, but I forgot to do that too. So I need to look up Felicity to remember the nuance by which I was applying it to the principle of public speaking. Today I'm going to read Temperance, one of the most important principles in my creed. Okay, the temperance, which is the ability to control one's emotions. Well, it's really temperance in an earnest sense means the ability to control, to restrain. We think of temperance as temperance with regard to alcohol or tobacco, or, womanizing. What do you call it? The opposite, minizing, whatever it is. Controlling your lusts, controlling your passions. I use it to mean controlling the emotions so that they don't make an outward appearance, undue outward appearance, keeping them on the inside, and managing them accordingly. Doesn't mean I push them away. It just means that I don't let them take control of me. It's a hard thing to do, and I'm not always good at it. Temperance has 3 sub-principles: suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Very simply put, temperance is suffering because we suffer when we're not letting ourselves explode. It's hard to do. Simplicity is simply because a simple life is by virtue of what is nature, a temperate life. If we're keeping things simple, we're tempering everything about our life. Because temperance isn't just the emotional control, it's also the control of consumption of all things, consumption of life. And apathy, because apathy is the ability, doesn't mean we don't care. It simply means that we recognize what is outside of our control and we're apathetic to the things that are beyond us. It's a very, very stoic, maybe at its core, the most stoic element of my creed. I've borrowed from the Stoics to say, I left the house without an umbrella. A downpour comes. A Stoic would be properly apathetic to the experience, neither getting upset or vocalizing anything, simply recognizing the folly of what happened, the circumstance of what happened, and carrying on. And a quote: "Keep your tongue in your belly under control." That's from Anthony the Great, not Alexander the Great, but Anthony the Great. Temperance is the controlled consumption of all things, such as food and drink, work and play, and even our thoughts and emotions. I will strive to recognize these consumables and then measure out a reasonable portion for myself and then strive to consume very little of that. Such worthy living naturally entails some suffering when we deny ourselves our wants, though a simple life makes this easier when the denial becomes part and parcel of our habits and conditioned response. I will then apply apathy towards the intemperance of others. That's something you can do well, is apply apathy towards others, as well as any personal misadventure which is beyond my control. I will recognize my own excess and that of my peers, and then use apathetic indifference as a buffer to prevent my consumption of the Feast of Offal. Principle number 18. Well, look at that. Did I get that number right? It is right. Okay, good. Wow, that's really rare that I actually have the numbers in there, and it says it because I mix things up. It's a chance that the number could have been off, but it's right. So good. I don't have to change that. So temperance is our ability to self-control our own response to our own internal activities, the storms running within, control our consumption of life, and control how we consume our input from the experience of others and our engagement with others. Okay, the next 24 hours, it's a Saturday, so I'm a little bit free. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with Saturdays. Will I consider them to be working days? Not really sure. Mondays through Fridays certainly are. I briefed Yumiko on yesterday that we're going to have a monthly budget meeting. I briefed her yesterday that expect on my budget meeting to have an announcement that I plan to go to work in greater earnest, meaning that basically from 9 to 5 I'll be working. As an example, yesterday, midway through the day, Yumiko's father realized that he was running out of medicine for something, and he called Yumiko to take him to the clinic downtown to get the medicine. Yumiko came to me and said, "Hey, I'm headed down. I'm taking Dad downtown. Do you want to come?" Usually Yumiko and I would, usually Dad would be at the clinic. He'd be in there for an hour. Yumiko and I would go do something. And I said, nope, because it was midday. I was in the middle of stuff. I said, Yumiko, I'm working. You guys go ahead and do that thing. I'm going to stay home and work. That was me changing the tone of things. It doesn't mean I won't enjoy my life with my wife. It just means that I'm reintroducing work as a part of my life. And as a result, the constructs of that are beginning to take form. So I'm going to give her a heads up. I already gave her a heads up that expect at our monthly budget meeting an announcement that from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'm going to be more of a work mode than anything else. We'll see how long that keeps up. I think it'll probably keep up for quite a while, because I think I found, at least for a while, my way forward. Let's read comments, but before I do that, let me go over the temperature and humidity. It is exactly 25 degrees Celsius and 85 degrees, 85% humidity. It's going to be another hot one. Yesterday was hot, but not so humid. It was kind of a strange one. Humidity dropped and never came back up. Hi, Robert. Good morning. Hi, Michael. Robert says hi to Michael. Hi, Tim. Tim says, good morning. Exactly the same for me. Yesterday and today. Spent a few hours doing garden work and completely spent out. Although working in full sun, high 20 C's, so my fault. Yep, you did it. Yep, same thing. Robert says hi to Tim. Heather, hello Heather. Good morning, Heather. I got your order. I noticed that you bought the tea, and that you bought the tea for your neighbor that likes the tea. I had shared that with Yumiko the other day, or last week when I heard that from you the first time, and I told her Heather bought tea for her neighbor. So that's really good. I have a new type of tea that I haven't listed yet, and I'm probably going to get it in the store next week. That it's 20 bags instead of 15, and it might be better for iced tea. So I'll be getting those in the store probably next week. But I'm glad to hear that your neighbor likes it, and how nice of you to buy that for your neighbor. It's sweet. Tim says hi to Robert. Hi, Crystal. Hi there. Tim says, funny, I was thinking earlier, do I prefer to be mentally exhausted in work or physically exhausted in retirement? LOL, probably the latter, is safer. That's a really interesting contrast, Tim. I would agree with you. If I could not, would I choose to be mentally fatigued or physically fatigued in the one or the other paradigm? And I would definitely choose the physical one, because the mental one will kill me. I think the mental one will kill me faster, right? Or just because it's more painful. The mental one hurts more. Robert says hi to Heather and Crystal. Heather says hi to Robert. Tim says, interesting to see the leaf color changing on your maples as time goes. Here in the UK, it means night temps are dropping and the leaves turn a darker color. Isn't it beautiful? I love watching how it changes indeed. Last night, something really interesting happened. Speaking of elements of the season, here in Japan, in this part of Japan, there are different types of cicada. We call them semi. You can hear them humming out there right now. And the cicada that you hear right now are these very discordant. I like to use the word cloying. Cloying meaning simply, I'm not saying like you don't know the meaning, I'm just trying to show you how I'm using the word. The meaning of cloying in this case being kind of abrasive, These kind of semi, I call them the low country semi, are rather cloying to the ear. It's very summer, but it's not a very peaceful tune. It's like listening a little bit to a pleasant jackhammer going. There's another type of cicada that is in the very, very high mountains. I mean, you'd have to drive an hour and a half into the mountains from here to get high enough in elevation. And they only come out in the evening, and they have a most pleasant droning sound. It's this deep, resonant whine, and you only hear them at the end of summer in the high mountains. And for all the Japanese people that know that sound, they associate that with the end of summer. And it's a very bittersweet, emotional feel to hear that sound. And about last week, I began to hear faintly that sound in the evening and very early in the morning coming from the forest here, which is strange because it doesn't belong here. It belongs way up in the mountains. And I told Yumiko about it, and she didn't believe it. Last night, before dinner, I was sitting here and I could hear that sound very deep from the forest. And I got the camera out and I turned the video on to play the sound, to capture it, and I captured it. And over dinner, I played it for Yumiko, and she agreed. She said, yeah, Kurt, that's it. I don't know what it is, but it's another element of this area that we have that very elusive high mountain cicada here that can be very heard like a distant sound of the wilderness in the evenings and the early morning from where we live. Thorak, hey, I haven't seen you for a while, and I actually know what that means now. Thorak, I can see by the star on next to your name that you're one of my YouTube members. And you say, happy Saturday, Big K. Big K, let your hair down and go have some fun before your big work week. Thank you, I appreciate that. I will do that. I will take your advice, Thorak. But Thorak, I don't know if you heard earlier, since you're a member, and thank you very much for being a member. I introduced last night new membership tiers. So your membership, the standard membership, has been converted to the bowl of soba membership. That's a mid-tier level. Thank you, and thank you very much for that. I've introduced 4 other tiers, including 2 tiers below as well. So there's less expensive tiers, and you now have a discount code associated with your membership. All the membership codes, all the membership levels do, that you can use in my Fourth Wall store. So check out your membership. There's a discount code there. You can apply that code if you buy anything from my store. It's good forever. So just a big thank you from me to you for being a member on YouTube. And I'm not trying to sell anybody else into being members. This is just, I've been wanting a way. I appreciate my members and my Patreon supporters, and I've been trying to find a way to provide some benefit for them, and I finally figured it out. So thank you. Crystal, 17C today, very nice change. Yeah, that's a nice change. Tim says it's 19.3C and 73, 19.C and 73. That would put you square in the green, Tim. Let's see, 19, Crystal's at 17C. So Crystal, you're just below the green zone, into the little bit cold zone, according to the scale here. Tim, you're right in heaven zone. Nice. Crystal says, I made an iced matcha and it triggered the thought that you might be live. And here you are. Well, thank you. Very much. Yeah. I'm glad that worked out. Tim says Robert says 29C. Okay. It's kind of hot. 56 humidity here in Nepani. Okay. So 56 hot and not so bad on the humidity side though. Nice on the humidity side. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's super excited. He loves the flavor. Wow, well that's wonderful. The owner of the tea store is so happy that foreigners are enjoying their family businesses, the products of their business. They're really excited about that. Um, I'm excited too. I was going to say the cicadas are going. They sure are, and they're really starting to get loud. You got cicadas, you got grasshoppers in some areas. Nice. Tim says the cicadas sound very much like our grasshoppers, but much louder. They get really loud up by the Shinto shrine. We'll walk through there later, and it's almost deafening. Crystal says sometimes the audio is a bit low, but these cicadas shine through. My cat didn't know what to think of them when she heard them coming from the TV. Really? So the audio is sometimes a little bit low. Is that true even since I got this? I got this really high quality Boya mic. My daughter and her boyfriend teamed up together and got me this for my birthday in May, and I've been using it on these lives. The audio, I don't use it with so the audio on these lives should be really good. I don't use it with the Retiring in Japan clips because I can't use the phone case and I drop my phone. I'm the guy that drops my phone, so I can't be running around town without my phone case. But here it's on the tripod, it's okay. So hopefully the audio is good with this. Thorax says, thank you, Kurt. I will check that out and take advantage of that. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate that. And now I finally understand, because I did a study, and what those little stars mean. I didn't realize that all along. Green color. Robert says hi to Thorax. I hope I'm saying your handle right. Heather says, he loves that it comes from a family farm with a huge versus a huge corporate farm like Lipton. It does come from the family farm, multi-generations old. The farm it's actually, they're not farmers. Yeah, I guess they are farmers. They are farmers, and they have a factory. They have, mostly they're a factory now. So they, like all the farmers in the area, bring their tea to their facility, and they process and market the tea. So they're like buyers for the local community, but they're also farmers. And they've been doing it since the Meiji period, since like the 1890s. They've been in business. Total mom and pop operation, and they hire, during the busy season, they hire the local mothers that are stay-at-home moms that want a little bit, because the kids, when the kids are at school, the moms can come in and work during the day and be home in time for the kids. So they're really great. They're members of the community. And my wife, our daughters, their daughter and our daughter, Emily, went to school together. And they're like best buddies in school, and the mothers, my wife and the mother of the family, worked together on the kindergarten PTA, and on what's called the Hogo Shakai, which is a community kids club. That's Kodomo Kai. Ray, hi Ray. Sound quality is good, just a little low. Okay. Wow, I wonder why. Or maybe it's because it's my shirt is sagging, or maybe I'm slouching or something like that. I don't have any way to control the sound, the volume with this setup. It just simply is what it is. I'm sorry. The sound is good. The retirement videos can be hit or miss. Yeah, not a big deal. I just adjust the volume. Yeah, the retirement videos are tricky because I did something for that too. Because what happens is when I do the videos with the inside camera facing this way, it's using the microphone that faces this way, so it gets a good quality. If I use the iPhone's camera facing the other way, which I think is called the back camera, this is the front camera, and if I use the back camera, then understandably the iPhone uses the back microphone, which faces the other way. So what happens is, if I'm talking at the camera and then I edit those clips together, the clips where I'm talking to the camera have a higher volume because it's right, the microphone's facing me, and the clips that are facing the other way have a lower volume because the clip's facing away. So what I already did to try to remedy that, and I'm sorry if this is more detail than anybody cares about, but I'm working hard at it to try to fix it. I bought a special camera, a very high quality camera that's a subscription-based camera. I pay $10 a month for this camera. And the only reason I use it is that it allows me to control which microphone to use. So when I'm making the Retiring in Japan videos, I try to make the back videos using that special camera, and then I switch it to use the front-facing mic. See? It tends to work pretty good. Sometimes I forget, and that's probably what you're noticing. Sometimes I'll be in the heat of the moment, and I'll make a clip using the iPhone camera's back camera, and I'll get that low-quality thing. It's just me forgetting to do it. And also a problem with that fancy camera that I pay $10 a month for, it can't stay in focus. So when you see in those retiring in Japan videos that I'm complaining about the focus, that's my fancy camera that I pay so much for that doesn't work worth a darn. This sound is good. Okay, good. Do you by chance have a vid of the tea factory? So I can show him? I do not have a video of the tea factory, but I do have a video of the tea factory 2 doors down. So there were 3 tea factories in the valley here before. One was operated by my wife's family, basically. The other one was operated by the family that I get the tea from now. And the third was operated by the family 2 doors down. So my wife's family's tea factory has gone out of business. It's now that factory, basically, my wife's uncle is kind of like the patriarch of the whole valley. That clan, they're the Inoes. They're kind of like they were like the head family of the whole valley. And sadly, the patriarch is now 92 years old. He has 2 able-bodied sons. They have lots of land and farms and stuff, and none of the boys are taking over. So everything is shutting down. The farm, they gave up the bamboo forest. They sold that back to the prefecture. They gave up their tea farms. They gave away sold their Mikan oranges fields. They had all kinds of stuff. And this year is the first year that their rice farm isn't being used. A beautiful rice farm is just going to weeds this year. Nobody's taking over any of it. So they sold the factory, was demolished, and it's now a retirement home. The place that I buy the tea from is my wife's friend that I told you about before. My dad has a friend. This is all by way of answering your question, Heather. My dad has a friend that he went to kindergarten with that has the tea factory 2 doors down from the one that I buy. And years ago when I lived here before, Dad asked me if I would like to have a tour of that factory and make a video of it. And I did. And that video is on YouTube. It's a very old video. If you go to my YouTube channel and search for Green Tea Factory Tour, and if you can't find it, let me know, and I'll send you the link. Green Tea Factory Tour, and if I can remember, I'll add it to the comments on this video. You'll see the tour of that factory, which is basically identical to the factory where I buy the tea that everybody here buys from me that I carry in my store. And that factory is still in operation. I've been thinking about going over and getting tea from them as well. It's just that it's a slow process expanding my business. So yeah, Heather, let me know if you can't find that video. It's a really interesting video, Green Tea Factory Tour, and it shows the whole process, step by step, of how they make the tea, all the machines and everything. It's really neat. Yeah, but it's a low quality because it's like 15 years old. I appreciate your efforts, Kurt. Casual is good too. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll look for it. And let me know if you can't find it, Crystal. Sorry, Heather. All right, everybody. Well, 33 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Try to get as for an antique, today I'm going to list this teacup, which caught my eye. Isn't this nice? I just love this teacup. It's got a little dragonfly, tombo, they're called in Japanese, on the bottom. And these kind of little stylized little hand-dabbed, paint. There's a maker's mark on there, but nobody can read it. Anyway, I'm going to list that next. But I'm going to try to get that listing out before the sun starts blazing down too strong. Thanks for joining me, everybody. A few comments came through. Have a good Saturday, everybody. Sunday or Monday or Friday or whatever it is for you. Super sad that the family is giving up the farming. Yeah, it really is. They're just, but it's happening everywhere here. My own father-in-law did too. He was a 4th generation traditional craftsman. He made traditional wooden doors and windows. And he's got 2 sons as well. And when the sons grew into adults, he looked at them and he said, he said, find something else to do. He said, there's no future in this. That's because the traditional crafts, for windows and doors, Japanese homes aren't using those as often. And the small little community craftsmen can't keep up with the big manufacturers, right? So there's no future in it. So my father-in-law deliberately gave up the business. It would be like having a business, a 4th generation, typewriter maker, right? In the age of the personal computers, right? yeah, the writing's on the wall, or I'm trying to think of a good example. Horse and buggy maker. Buggy maker. There's no future in it. Time to give it up. So my father-in-law, this all happened while I was back living in the United States. He gave all of his tools away, and they demolished the shop and the house, and it's all gone. It breaks my heart in a way. And believe me, I did think about, is there any way I could get involved in all of that? But I decided that since the young men in the family and the young women decided that, this wasn't the route to go, I decided to follow their lead and just, nod and say goodbye to it all. All right. It's a dying art, it is. Take care, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Thanks for joining me today.